Okay.
Welcome everybody to Feng Shui Mastery Show with your host Kathy Hargaden. And this evening we've got a delightful guest, a very special guest indeed. Somebody who wants to share her story and her special experience on this program called Economic Feng Shui in Cyprus. And this special guest, her name is Paolo Sava. And Paolo was the head of customer services department in a very established banking system within Cyprus. She's worked in the banking system for 33 years. She's had 2 promotions and was manager of over 8 people. And she's gone from cashier to manager in that time. And she has some amazing insights to share with us, basically about the energy of wealth and how she first experienced that working in the banking system, and then after the banking crisis some years ago, how that suddenly shifted. And sit back and listen to this amazing interview now, because she's going to share some of her insights and the after effects of this, shall we say, financial tsunami in Cyprus. So let me welcome Paolo. Paolo, thank you very much for joining me this evening.
Kathy Hagaden, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk about the drama which happened in our beautiful island of Cyprus. It was, I believe that the business summit we went together, it was it was an opportunity, or it meant to be, so people will get to know more about what is the bail-in, bailout, what is Troika about, and what is the feeling of the austerity measures imposed by the European community.
Right. Well, before we go into the crisis itself, I thought we could just talk about how you were positioned in terms of the banking system prior to the crisis. So, what was the energy around the business of banking that you experienced yourself? Could you talk a bit about that?
Of course. I remember myself in 1982 when I joined the financial institution, and I was only an ambitious young lady with the diploma in business studies, which I was having. And entering that bank, it was not a big bank, but a bank with full of energy, of positive people, good management, with morals and vision to become one of the biggest banks, then to become the biggest banks, based on honesty and good work and loyalty. I remember that people, we were like a small family. People, they used to come to us, or we used to attract more customers only because we were really good with them, just human with them. We could the positiveness of people to come in the bank, say good morning, how are you, get the right service. There was a personal service for everybody, no matter what the status of that person was. Either was a person with 100 deposit, or persons with businessmen and millionaires and whatever.
Yeah.
There was a very good environment. If you, yes, that is what.
I'm sure that with it being quite an international place, Cyprus, that it wasn't just local people you served. There seems to be an international jet set there as well. So, what was the energy of that kind of custom?
People, as soon as they entered Cyprus and the banks, they were amazed, not because we were attracting them in a faulty way, or just giving them the right service, a smile, people to concern, that we were concerning. We felt like if you were from abroad coming to me, or not to me, to our colleagues, to our team, to everybody, they would welcome you as if you were known to them many years ago. There was trust. They would give you the right advice. They would give you the right feeling. So you would be really, really wish to be in the bank in the morning just to do your business. That bring more and more excited people from abroad, because we had a good system, a reliable system, a professional system. The our with the computer system, the internet, and everything was aligned with the morals and the vision of the company.
Okay. So, in terms of the feeling, things seemed to be on the not just on the up, but they were flowing, shall we say? There was money coming into the banks, and it was flowing out, and it was coming in, and it was flowing out. Um, how did that start to change? Did you see anything before the crisis
So
occurred, or?
you see, as soon as in 1982, when the banks were very small and the economy was smaller in Cyprus, we saw people to be attracted more and more into our island for investment wise, and for also for residentship. Okay, they
Mm,
really like the beautiful climate, the energetic climate, the sun. You know, sun sees sand,
yes.
gives you power. So that in also something which probably we haven't discussed before is that, you know, you could buy a very nice piece of land at a very low cost. So more people were coming from abroad, from colder countries, to buy something here because it was cheap to buy and cheap to live. So that made more people come. So prosperity was flying everywhere. I mean, everybody was happy. Everybody was, the restaurants, the people in the bank, the simple salesmen. Uh, Everybody was progressing, was better than yesterday. You
Yeah.
know, having hopes.
Yeah.
The banks were trying to attract also the local people, so they would pass them through the vision that they could have the house of their dream, and they could have now a bigger house with a longer terms of lending,
Mm-hmm.
so they could just pay a little amount every year and have a nice house with a swimming pool
So
probably. They
basically,
could,
life was very quite luxurious for a lot of people in Cyprus,
yes,
whether it was the
yes,
locals or the actual people from
foreigners,
outside. Yeah.
that's it.
So when
Yes,
did you realize before the crisis occurred? I've spoken to you previously, and you were saying that
yes.
you know that there was something amiss, but you didn't realize it was going to manifest into this big crisis. Can you say something about that?
Yes, of course. See, so living in such an environment with so much enthusiasm around us, with a good management, we had to face a very big management uh, change, which that from the moment the new management occurred, we saw things that obviously they were not visible. It was an invisible feeling,
Mm,
okay, that something was going to change. And as far as myself, believing in this energy, I mean, I've sensed the person who took over when he was just there in front of all the managers of the financial system I was working with. And he stood up and he was so arrogant, you know, arrogant, mentioning that the previous president of the bank was wrong in this way, was wrong in that way, humiliating him. I didn't like the sense of other people that they were, that previous president gave them pride, gave them promotions, and now in the presence of the new coming president, they were just clapping him, and like he was now the king and the previous king was the worst king it
mm,
was. So also from the beginning, the culture change. The, for instance, that president, he came to the unions, and he gave money, and he gave to help the union, to help the work people, and and then also he gave a position of the union people into the board of directors of the bank. It reminds me of the old story with the Troy that they put.
Helen of
Uh,
Troy.
yeah, they put a big horse outside as a present,
Yes.
but inside the horse there were soldiers
Yes.
attacking them. Okay,
Right.
so after that they became to give bonuses to special workers that they were not to be announced. They were given by the managers who thought they were good. So instead of people working with Philodimo, you know what Philodimo, actually, I saw it in the dictionary. The translation of Philodimo, it's said
Oh,
that
we got just a little bit of a kick. We've just got a little bit of a hiccup there.
it cannot have a translation. It cannot be translated. Okay.
Go on.
So I was talking about the people in Cyprus, that the majority of us previously we used to work not because of bonuses and incentives that had to do with money, and but we used to work with Philodimo. Philodimo is, I want to do that to please you. I want to do that because I feel like to do it. I want to do that because I feel good about it. I want to assist my co-worker. I want to assist the people. I want to assist. So we were creating a nice chain between us working together.
Right.
So to what you say, if somebody was weak in something and I was better in
You
something else,
support each other.
we
Yeah.
were supporting each other,
Yeah.
and that was based on humanity, on
Yes.
Philodimo,
So
not
are
on
you
money.
are you saying then when they brought this whole concept of bonuses for the best workers that it started to create some kind of friction or division amongst
Yes,
the staff?
gr- greedy. And
Yeah.
you see that the morale and ethics changed to the worst.
Yeah.
That some people were just wanting to get bonuses, so they were hiding things, or they wanted to be friendly with the managers to do that and that
Yeah.
and that, and by that they were crossing down, they were double crossing their friends, or they were trying to say I'm better from the other one. But in order to do that, they were saying, or they were having fantasy things about the other workers. So that means that it was not a fair battle for everybody. So from that thing, the whole energy of the bank changed. People like me were getting more and more disappointed by things they were seeing from their superiors. They were, we were suggesting to them that by asking people to buy bonds and bonds and bonds, where would that lead us? We were simple people, simple, would you say, staff, okay?
Yes.
If you consider us with the heads and the director board. So we had the concerns that actually, if they had them the way we had them, we wouldn't have the economic crisis in our bank and in our country. So when
So
you say
basically,
that
you're saying that there was an unhealthy an unhealthy play with people's minds as well as with people's
an unhealthy
expectations.
play,
Yeah.
expectations, the morale, the greediness, the professionalism was not anymore in the way it had to be.
Okay.
They wanted only to manipulate the people,
So when
and
did you yeah.
unfortunately, yes,
When did you
they
first see the signs then? Is this one of the signs before the crisis?
yes,
Yeah.
it was one of the signs, and unfortunately, we were we could not see it so clearly, and I felt after going out of the bank, I felt that yes, I became part of the system without without my consent, without even realizing it.
So you were
I,
deluded, you said
I was,
something here.
yes, I was deluded by the system. I was deluded by my superiors. You know, two days and one day before the bail-in, okay, and I will talk what is a bail-in if people know. We were having sent by our directors the letter from the central bank head, which was guaranteeing the customers and us and everybody that for God's sake there will not be a bail-in.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 2 days before, when we were showing these letters to customers that they had money in an effort to maintain the deposits or to make them bring more money into the system.
Right. So it's very deceptive.
They're deceptive,
Yeah.
and if after that finding out that the family of our president Nikos Anastasiadis had transferred over 21 million outside of Cyprus just 2 days before, which means that the government, they knew what they were doing, but they protected their families, their friends, their negotiators, their clients, and they forget to protect their residents, their
Okay.
people, their citizens.
You mentioned before that people were starting to take their money out in droves. What was precipitating that? Why were they choosing to do that before
It was
anything was announced?
Look, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare because since the first step, it was that the financial system was taken out, it was taken over by the government. So if that was the case, that means the bank had a problem. Okay,
Mm.
so some people they lost the trust on the bank, and they were starting getting annoyed because they couldn't get more money, they couldn't borrow money. You know, the lending procedure changed when we became under the government, and they started refueling the bank by withdrawing millions of pounds, okay, in an effort. And we were there to say that there was nothing happening to the bank because they wouldn't give us any records. They wouldn't even, I won't name the accountants and like PricewaterhouseCoopers, whatever they were doing. I don't know. I don't want if this is okay to be mentioned, but they were giving reports without stating specific factors that were not in. So we were deluded. Everybody was deluded.
Yeah.
I was also, as an employee of the bank, I was supporting my bank by buying shares, which
Mm.
shares after the bail-in, they were gone. No shares for anybody.
Right.
Um, so you cannot imagine what is the feeling of massive people coming every day. You lose customers, you lose. It's like losing your family. You're
Yeah.
losing. Yeah, you're sensing that it was a not healthy environment. It was not a healthy environment. You could feel it, you could sense it, but you could not actually. It was an invisible energy. What do you
Yes.
say?
Yeah.
You
Energetic
could say,
field. Yeah.
yeah. It started. I saw some of my notes yesterday. I was cleaning my desk of all these papers I had with the bank, which it took me 3 years since I've left 7th of August in 2013.
Yes.
I I opened my drawer and I was throwing out things, and I saw a diary I had. And before, in 2012, I started writing this thing every day in the morning, that I had to bless the God. I have to be gratitude for the things I have, because I know now that I had that bad feeling and that bad energy in my mind, in my body, before that happens.
So do you
And
think
I
that your sixth sense really knew that something was happening, but you couldn't, or you didn't really know what exactly
actually,
that was?
yes, I really didn't know. And when I had the feeling of that general manager that stood up there and he was telling about the previous one, and I stood up I forgot to mention that before to you. I stood up. I was the only one that stood up, and I told him because I sensed it, and something made me point out my hand and ask to talk. And I said to him, "You are welcome, but it's no good. It's good to mention the mistakes of somebody in order to not to be repeated again. But also the previous director, at least we had a good history. We were a small company. We became a big company with loyalty, trustworthy, and with the value of our share at 9 Cyprus pounds then, value, which was very, very good share to buy. So we were profitable, we were strong, and trustworthy organization that people really would like to join us and work with us. And I wished him to bring us more in a better, better way. And that after 5 years, I told him, I hope in 5 years to feel the same security secured as an employee, and that our bank will be having better value and our share to be worthy, to be double worthy. And I was misunderstood by him, that I was defending the previous director and I was not considered loyal to him,
Okay. So after that, I mean, what then was the fallout? How did it manifest? I mean, particularly amongst the people of Cyprus whose whose livelihoods were based around this particular financial institution, but also some of the people who'd come in from outside. How did that play out for people? You have quoted in the past, you've said to me
yes,
that the
yes.
people, they live, but they are dead. Can you say a bit more about that, please?
Yeah, yes. First of all, I will just say what happened and how I felt on the on March 23rd, 2013. March 2013, 13th of March 2013. It was a Friday. We left the bank, and at night we've heard on the news that the European community enforced our president, that he was only a new president after 1 month presidential position, to accept the bail-in. And by that time, we didn't know exactly what that was, the bail-in. So when the banks are saying to you that they guarantee you a fixed amount of money, I know now exactly what that means. That means that if your country goes bankrupt or your bank goes bankrupt, even if you have millions of pounds, you will be left only with that guaranteed amount. And that's all. So on Friday, the 13th of March 2013, a person that had probably 7 million of pounds would have woke up in the morning and he found out that he had only 100,000 pounds in the bank left.
Wow. Oh my.
I had customers with, yes, more than 1 million of pounds in their pockets as a deposit. I had people that they have immigrated, Cypriot people that they have sacrificed their life abroad to do something before, when they left in 1974, when we had the invasion by the Turks, and now our island is half. They went, let's say, Australia, they went to England, they went everywhere in the world to seek for hope, new home, and work so they can live their lives. And after so many years, let's say 40 years, 50, they came to the island of Cyprus, the paradise, the so-called paradise, the heaven, because it was like a heaven, really a heaven, to live here. They were so glad, and they brought their children, their families, having those money to live for the rest of their life. And after that, they found out that they'd lost everything they worked for the second time or forever.
Yeah. Wow.
I had a person that really, they got sick, they got diabetic, they got cancer, and after that, we had to face, because the banks were closed for more than 20 days, because they didn't know how to do this in paper, how to go and find out the way to take this money out of the people's money. So I thought that there was, but the mafia in the world is not as bad as the government mafia,
Okay.
because they absorbed the the people's lives. Actually, it's not the people's money, because money is the tool, is a vehicle for you to take you over. So they absorbed, they they drained
Yeah.
people's soul, because provident funds were lost.
Mm-hmm.
You know what is a provident fund? Somebody works many years.
For future.
For the future,
Yes.
they put money there. Their employees puts money for them,
So they
and
stole,
them
really.
they stole
They stole people's
people's money.
lives. They stole their spirit. They stole their
Yes,
life.
yes,
They
yeah,
stole their dreams.
yeah.
And
And they're killing you. They
yeah.
kill people.
Hmm.
You know, they
What's it like
killed you.
there now? What's it like? What's happened as a result now?
As a result, taking my example, Kathy, what does it mean to be a healthy person, a person that you are full of energy? You worked so hard with so much trust and love and loyalty, and in 1 second, all your dreams, all your life goes down. You are there by the bank to finalize, because we stayed in the bank for another 6 months. It was March, and then on the 7th of August, we are threatened that if we do not give up our positions,
Hmm.
if we don't go out of the bank, we would lose, we would not get anything as a compensation, and we will just are facing to be out of work with not even having a year's salaries to live for.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
we had denied our provident funds because it was in the bail-in. They thought that we've lost the provident funds. So the troika allowed our government, what heart, they had a better heart than our government, to give 50% of our provident fund, and with the promise that the other 22.5% we will get them at the age of 65 on our pension. Okay?
Yeah.
As soon as we decide to leave our job, it was a decision we had to make within a day, within a week, leave it, take it or leave it, okay?
Hmm.
As soon as we left, after 1 month, the Minister of Economics of Cyprus, he announced to us, the same person that he promised that this will bound, he came and said, sorry, I cannot fulfill the 22.5% because we don't have any money. And that it would be a thing to be discussed when and if the Troika goes after 2, 3, or 4 years, we don't know.
Can you just say a little bit about the Troika for people
Yes,
listening to this who are not aware of the European establishment?
yes. Troika is an is what's I it's the instrument of the European Commission, the Eurogroup, that enforces the austerity measures. The austerity measures that they are
Okay.
really, people are, they are. There have been a lot of reactions and responses towards these austerity measures of the bailout plan. There are so many responses and reactions against that, but nobody hears what the persons have to say. So As me and my colleagues, around 800, we've left from this bank and from another institution, financial institutions, another 700. So 1,500 people, we've lost our jobs without getting anything, not even what we what we have promised to have. And a lot of people are suffering from depression. They have really, we have two people that they have suicides, and other people are having a lot of diseases, cancer, which I assume this bad energy influenced them in such a way so their body reacts with diseases and mental problems.
Yeah, mental health problems.
Mental health problems, yes.
And what's the aura around the island now? Has it improved, or I think you were saying that some people have lost the will to live, or they've lost the will to take back the power?
Yes, you see, once you are drained, there's nothing worse to be assassinated and be life, but dead. I mean, you're dead
finished.
inside you. You're finished.
Yeah.
Because if you are people like me at their age of 48 or 47, when they have energy, they're out of work, of business, and there are no jobs. There are no jobs to go to employ you. So there's an unemployment, a high unemployment rate. So even young people like my three children are abroad. They cannot find work here in locally. So who is going to hire me when there are so many young people with diplomas?
Sure. Yeah.
Cannot find work. So it's this killing, this death, this how to say, brings more negativeness into the area. I mean, if I go and meet with my ex-colleagues after an hour, if I come back, I feel miserable. I feel myself the same feelings I had when I left. I'm feeling empty. There's this emptiness.
There's a void.
Yes. Can you imagine working in early morning, wake up, get dressed, you go to work, to your environment, you sit next to your desk, there is your computer, your emails, you're having so much networking with people outside, inside, colleagues,
so there's
customers.
An interaction and lots of interaction.
Lots of interaction. So your mind is working,
sure.
is progressing, is fantastic. And then you don't have these images in front of you. You are home. You wake up in the morning and you say, why should I wake up 7 o'clock? Is there any point to do that? Let's wake up 8 o'clock. Why don't make it 9 o'clock? Then by the time you wake up, you are in a house. And then the house you were feeling so nice to be. The house that when you were at work, you were so, it was so lovely to go back and be home, sitting by your couch, becomes your prison.
Right.
Without realizing it, especially if you're not the kind of person that likes to be home, cooking, cleaning, and there's nothing wrong about cleaning and cooking, not to be misunderstood, is a very precious and very useful work and very important thing to have a nice, clean house, beautiful. But when you are left only with that, you lose the sense of a home.
Pavlo, people listening to this, Paula, do you think that they must be thinking, oh, well, this will never happen to us? How close is that now? Do you think that other people in other countries, whether it's England or Spain or Latvia or even America, do you think this is possible to occur anywhere else in the world?
Of course. No, I remember that when we were okay and fantastic here and the economic crisis was happening to Greece, that Greece affected us because we had a lot of bonds exposure to them, okay? And when they decided about it, we were affected by that decision of the European group. And the European group, they didn't come and say, because of our decision, this island had suffered because it's one of our members and we have to appreciate and assist them. But we became an experiment, experiment.
Sure.
It was that we say, okay, let's try this and let's do it here because there is more community, and who is going to listen to them? They cannot do anything. They're a minority. But if this was happening in Germany, this was happening in other country, do you think that this would be like this? I mean, there would be a war, really, a war. The same thing can happen to everybody in every country. It will. And I will see that if they don't take the right measures, they will happen in Italy, in France. And I wouldn't think that the French people will allow themselves to happen something like this. I don't think the German people would allow the European country to do the same with them, to steal whatever they worked for their whole life, to be taken out within 1 minute because of people that they are millions. Because you know what happened? Millionaires that they're owning to the banks. They don't pay anything because they owe, and their money and their wealth is not in the country they serve, is in Switzerland. They have everywhere else their deposits. So they're wealthy. They can do whatever everywhere else in the world, and they put the country into such a mess by living loans who are paid by the economies of the poor people, You understand?
Yes.
I mean, we had developers that they owe millions, billions in the bank, and they cannot pay. So their debts are paid by the people's bail-in money. Do you realize that?
No, I didn't.
And another thing to let people so they know, they are trying now, and they imposed a new legality about the people that they owe money, and this is under mortgaged of their first residence. And now again there will be a bigger drama in Cyprus, because probably they got your money, but at least you had your house.
Sure.
Now if you lose your roof under which you are, what it will happen to the majority of the people, and why they've chosen to do this to the people that they own the first house and they didn't do it, to those investors that they have over one house and more. And why they didn't do it? Because there will be millionaires that will be affected. And that is no good.
That's no good.
No, the millionaires are the ones that they are actually putting the presidents on. It's the ones that they are giving the power to the presidents, and there is a relationship between the millions, the powerful people with the governmental people, so that they earn more money.
Okay, so this is something I've heard before from Max Kaiser, is that when there's a problem, the people's taxes pay for that problem economically. Yes. And when in this crisis, the people who actually left the financial mess didn't pay for it anyway, because their money wasn't in the country, it was somewhere else. So once again, the people, the local people, the community, they're the people who've paid through their taxes for mopping up the mess. Before we finish, I just wanted to ask you, what two things would you say to anybody listening to this in a different country? What two things would you say to perhaps warn them about?
I would warn them that if they have more money than what their bank is guaranteeing them, just to move them into other banks, to split their money immediately, not with a date of difference, to try to have their deposits in more than one name, not only on their names, so they're split up in persons that probably, if for instance, people that they have a joint account, okay, let's say Paula and Kathy and they have 200,000. The 200,000 would have left in their bank. But if I had 200,000 only in my name, I would have been left only with 100. Do you
I
understand that?
understand. Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
And thank God, for one reason again, I don't know why, once I have been transferred from a manager of the bank to a head of the accounts, and I was advising people constantly and repeatedly, especially people from abroad, that as soon as they come, to put their money together with their wife, with their children, just in case something will happen to them. I didn't know about the bail-in or the bailout. I just did it without knowing what, and I have a lot of customers that they really appreciated me and appreciate me because I've done that for them, and I insisted on doing this. Okay.
Yes.
So the other thing is that I would say to people that we all have to work together to bring back to the world positive energy, good morals. And good morale is not thinking you know what you are doing is right. It's knowing that what you are doing is right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
the onus is on individuals to come together as a group and as a community, which is what's happening across the world now, is the people are actually joining forces and saying, we know what's going on is not right and that we're not happy to sit down and accept that.
Yes.
And finally, do you think that this can and will be repeated, this situation again somewhere else?
History has taught us that when there is too much crime in the world, too much, would you say it in English, cruelty in the world, people unite themselves for a better world with a better vision. And yes, I do believe that now it started things to come back. People go back to actual human feelings. So if we make a chain, and I think if we find other people with positiveness, and we grow this chain of positive energy to surround us, we can be so powerful,
Yeah.
and we can fight against cruelty, against
The
these
bigger
the
corporations,
bigger
actually, yeah.
corporation, and this will be by the massive,
Yeah.
simple people like us.
Yeah, I think I would
So
endorse that. People don't realize how powerful they are, that where they spend their money, they have the power to take away that spending power if that company or corporation is not congruent with their philosophy in life, which is about not stealing from the common person or the person
yes,
who's working all their life, like what's happened in Cyprus. So for all these corporations who, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Paolo, but there is
yes,
a European directive at the moment who is quite prepared to do free trade with America for selling foods that are actually not, they're not healthy, and they're not being passed by the Food and Administration drug industry. They're not seen as safe here, but there's laws going on and being made unbeknownst to the common people in the European countries. So I'm just talking about that as an example of, if people don't unite with their
yes.
positive chain, then we will all be singled off one by one.
One by one. Yes,
So, but
I
is there anything else that you'd like to say before we complete this today?
is what we say, that the karma, like everything else in the world, like if you have if you have a family and you don't really love your family, you love your parents, you don't love, that comes back to you. This is the same thing that now is happening, that if you hurt somebody, I believe that that will come back to you. So people that they really hurt
Yeah.
other people in their way, they will pay for it.
Yes.
So positive people should gather together. We must not lose hope. we must all find ways to fight, because there is nothing worse after a disaster to lose your passion for life and just let these people continue do what they do. That's definite a death. That's a
Yes.
definite death.
Well, let's say that it may be a death, but from your interview today, I think there is a rebirth amongst some people who want to get up and fight. And I think that sentiment is certainly endorsed by an awful lot of international speakers now: Russell Brand, Max Kaiser, Gerald Salente, Michael Maloney, Alex Jones. The list is endless. And we
Yes.
will have our voice. And thank you very much for sharing your voice today with me, Kathy Hargaden, on the Feng Shui Mastery Show.com. Thank you.
Kathy, thank you so much. You've been amazing. Thank
Thank
you.
you.